Hey there everybody, and welcome back to this second video in the series on audition preparation. Now in today's video, we're going to be talking about getting into the mindset of the people who are adjudicating us, or understanding that mindset. But before we do that, if you haven't done so already, go back to the first video in this series and let that sit with yourself for a bit. It's really important for us to have a constructive mindset before going into what other people think, because it is such a rabbit hole that we can get down into. But it is really important. So, getting right into it. Why is it important? You might be asking. Why should I worry about what other people think? After all, as a performer, aren't I supposed to just play? And if other people like me, great. If other people don't like me, oh well, I just move on to the next thing. That is a great idea, a great philosophy to have when you're in the act of performing. Absolutely. You can't control what people think. However, there's a rub. In order to be successful as a performing musician, your ability to succeed is based almost entirely on what everyone else thinks of you, on what other people think of you. And there's no way around it. If people like the way you sound, the things you want to happen will happen. And if they don't like what they hear from you, it's much less likely the things you want to happen are going to happen. There's no way around it. So getting into that mindset, getting into those expectations becomes really, really important. So we're going to address that in really two categories, that of the college audition and that in the orchestral audition. When we're talking about college auditions, I've got to be really careful. Anyone who's speaking about this needs to be really careful because people are not monolithic. We can hear the same exact thing at the same exact time and have very different impressions of it based on our perceptions of what we heard. However, there are times that we can wind up having a consensus that everyone feels the same way and might have different reasons for feeling that way. That's because if we're able to take a step back and another step back and another step back, maybe get to a 30,000-foot view, we can start to see certain commonalities in individuals and what we are really listening for. When it comes to college auditions, if I take a step back and had to put my finger on something, I would say that most of the teachers, that pretty much everyone, is looking for for the applicants to demonstrate an ability to learn. Now you might say, duh, but that's what we're looking for, an ability to learn, and that manifests itself in two ways. The first, obviously, is what have you learned thus far? What have you learned to date? How do you play right now without the coaching that that particular teacher might have to offer you, or maybe having had some experience with you, maybe that provides some information as well. But in the audition, what have you learned to date? And the other thing that we like to do is, it's not uncommon in a college audition for the professors or the people who are listening to you ask you to do something a little bit different. And what that does is that gives us more information. That tells us not only what have you learned, but it also tells us what is your capacity to learn for the future. And that can yield additional information that really helps us sort of figure out how we evaluate the students who are applying to our respective programs. And we're always looking for information on what has the applicant learned and what is their capacity to continue to do it. Do they have a very high ceiling compared to what they've done? And there are a lot of factors that go into that. Now, the second aspect of this is with orchestral auditions. When we're considering orchestral auditions, the committees that are listening to you are trying to listen to 40 or 60 or 80 people for one position. We're trying to give an opportunity to everyone, but in providing an opportunity to everyone, it means that everyone gets a very, very short amount of time, which means we need to get as much information as we can in as little amount of time as possible. That means we put together audition lists, not only with the music in mind, but the information we're going to get from it in mind. And when you understand that, the audition list goes from being your favorite 15 or 20 or 25 excerpts to being, why is this on? Why is this on? Why is this on? And you start to get into the mindset realizing that The committee is there for a reason. There is some piece of information that we want to get from this that we are hoping that our applicants will provide. Yes, music making, absolutely. But there are all the skills involved in making that music. And that becomes really crucial. If the committee is looking for one thing, if you could say, for example, let's say an excerpt that is supposed to be very loud, but also very noble. If an applicant comes in and plays a very loud and noble excerpt in a loud and aggressive way, the committee is likely to say, that they played that very aggressively. If the candidate comes in and plays a very loud and noble excerpt in a very noble way, but not very loud, that tells the committee something else. How does this player perceive something that's loud and noble? Well, they perceive it as being just noble. Do they really understand? And that becomes really helpful to understand that when you're going into your auditions. Now, we're going to talk more about how we respond to the mindset of people who are listening to us in the next video. As I said, this is not the end. This is the beginning. In the next video, we're going to talk about what we do about this and how it impacts our preparation in the next video. So, hope you tune in next time, and thank you so much for joining me in this video.